Is New Jersey now the new Area 51 because of all the mystery drone sightings? As you may have almost certainly heard, New Jersey has recently become the epicenter of aerial object obsession. Some might say panic. Mysterious drones or planes, or maybe extraterrestrial spycraft, depending on your view, seem to have been lighting up the night sky for the past month, and theories about their purposes and origins abound. I think it's like they're like trying to see what's going on with the public, one woman speculated on television. It's almost like a census. I don't know. Is that a weird conspiracy theory? It was no weirder than competing theories. Last week, Representative Jefferson Van Drew, Republican congressman whose district includes the Jersey Shore, maintained that the drones were being sent from an Iranian mothership, quote unquote, operating off the East Coast. In a 4-minute address to his constituents posted on YouTube, he described drones the size of minivans that were clearly not the work of a backyard hobbyist. The Pentagon finally weighed in. There was no Iranian mothership parked on the vicinity of Cape May or anywhere else on the eastern seaboard. In an interview with local Fox station in Philadelphia, Major General James Poss, who retired from the Air Force and is now a consultant and intelligence expert, offered his own take. He says, I would bet you that it's probably what we call, and I apologize for a long clunky name, electronic vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, he said. The popular name for them is flying cars. The initial response from federal officials has said, and nothing to see here quality, which serves only to frustrate politicians from both parties who have been demanding answers. The FBI cautiously acknowledged without a doubt that unmanned aircraft had been flying over New Jersey, and that this was irresponsible, but that explanation seemed insufficient. On Tuesday, a briefing with Pentagon Press Secretary Major General Pat Ryder began with a discussion of a defense partnership between the United States and Qatar, the importance of a ceasefire in Gaza, and the presidential transition, but the attention of the reporters in the room was clearly focused elsewhere. Inevitably, after a question about Syria came another fanciful one. I know you're hoping for a drone question, the reporter said, after several had already been posed, so let me oblige you, he said. General Ryder continued the national effort to calm nerves, pointing out that there are millions of drones registered in the United States and that on any given day, approximately 8,500 were in flight. A vast majority of them were recreational, but architects, engineers, and so on relied on them as well. He offered that a close relative of his was a professional drone operator. While the government was taking these new reports seriously, he said, sometimes when you focus on something, suddenly you notice more. Even the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer of New York suggested that the Department of Homeland Security should deploy better drone detection technology. Citizens with questions about these drones, he said, should not have to shake an 8-ball to get an answer. For some, the 8-ball has consistently come up with a single reply, aliens. On his Instagram page with its 1.5 million followers, Tom DeLonge, guitarist for Blink-182, and well known in certain circles for his UFO enthusiasms, acknowledged that while we don't have all the facts yet, what people are seeing might be alien spacecraft mimicking the Earth kind. We do know that UFOs play with mimicry, and that has been known for quite some time. He wrote, why? To get us to notice them without a major freakout. Who knows, he said. So it's certainly anybody's guess what these things are still. Freakouts over large, suspiciously lit objects high up in the atmosphere have been with us for decades. In the summer of 1947, an experienced pilot in the Pacific Northwest named Kenneth Arnold reported that he had seen a series of bright, shiny objects flying over Mount Rainier. Hundreds of other sightings followed that summer, and it was at that point that the term flying saucer entered the vernacular. And all of this was taking place against the backdrop of the end of World War II and the beginning of the Cold War. And then as now, technology was ascendant and suspicions ran high. This kind of frenzy in some way is only to be expected at the dawn of the age of AI, when the richest man in the world, intent on colonizing Mars, that's Elon Musk of course, is an important advisor to the incoming president, and the distrust of government, media, and corporate interests is exceedingly high. Greg Aghigian, professor of history and bioethics at Penn State, has studied the cultural conditions around these kinds of sightings and writes about them in his book, After the Flying Saucers Came. The genesis for some of these paranoia stemmed from the secret government programs producing new kinds of technology with catastrophic implications. The war brings about this idea that, my God, the government is making things that we could not have conceived, he said. He pointed to other flaps and waves, what UFO aficionados call these periodic surges in seemingly strange aircraft activity, usually observed over a limited geographic area. They occurred in the 1950s and again in 1973. As Watergate was unfolding, gas prices were soaring, and Skylab, the country's first space station, lifted off that May. The pattern is virtually always the same. You get vague, puzzling sightings that have the potential to make people nervous, Mr. Aghigian said. You get authorities who chime in who are then unconvinced about their explanations, and you get politicians demanding answers. Many explanations are up for grabs, quote unquote, as he put it, and that is how it has always played out. Early in 1953, the CIA enlisted a professor at Caltech to analyze reports of UFO sightings. He and an assembled team concluded that there were generally explanations for each phenomenon. Sunlight, for example, reflected off a jet. The real problem was not alternative life forms, no. It was the public and its reflex for mass hysteria. This is from New York Times on DNYUZ. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.